Hey everybody. So I am outside. It's a beautiful day. Fall is in the air. It's still hot here. I saw a thing that said fall in Arkansas just means it's hot summer, and then the next day it's hot fall. And that's kind of true. It's still hot, but that's okay. It's not as hot, and there's just change in the air. It feels good. Just feels, I don't know, the sun even looks different. The shadows look different. It's just feeling like fall. I got some stuff to do today. And so the first order of business is we have got our 2 Tammock rabbits are due anytime. So I'm going out here to check them and see if I need to put a box in with them for them to have their kits in, and just what all's going on out here. So you can see this mama, she's probably about to have her kits anytime. She's already got fur pulled. I didn't tell Emily to give them a box, so this other one doesn't have a box yet. So I'm going to give her a box. She's more skittish. And even if they don't have a box or something to have their babies in, they'll just start pulling hair and making a nest. And she hasn't done that. So that tells me she's not as close. For some reason, her cycles are quite a bit longer. Like, she's always late when I think she's going to have babies. It's usually quite a few days, sometimes up to a week longer than when I thought she was going to have them. So those 5 colorful ones I showed you, those have been weaned for a couple weeks. They're ready to go. We're selling those as breeders. So if you're interested in getting into Tammocks, I would highly recommend them. They've been great for us. They've bred all summer long. We've had litters. Everything's just went really good with them. Really pleased with them. But we're selling those as breeders. We've had a couple people ask about us raising them out for them to go ahead and butcher, or to butcher them for them. But we're not doing that yet. Right now we're just selling breeders. And until like the demand for that goes down, then we may raise some, you know, to process. And by process, I mean for other people. Of course, we are, you know, processing for ourselves as we want to. But so yeah, if you're interested in breeders, just reach out and we'll see what we can do. There's a mixture, obviously, of males and females in there. But everyone in that litter, there's 6 of them, they're all spotted. We've kind of been filming for a while, mainly about like cows and pigs and livestock and things like that. It seems like that's what you guys watch the most and what you want to see. So we've kind of just been trying to take your hints, I guess, as far as like what you guys are watching. But that doesn't mean that we're not really still into gardening and things like that. I am into those things. If YouTube went away tomorrow, I would still be doing all the things we're doing now. And a lot of those sometimes you just don't see, like the garden, because just by nature of what you guys have watched, we're not like just primarily a gardening channel. Like, you know, there are channels that's what you guys watch them for. That's what they primarily are on YouTube. But that, again, doesn't mean that I'm not doing those things behind the scenes. So today I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the garden, what's kind of going on out here, a real look, and plans for this fall. Got to get some things planted, and I've got a little encouragement for you guys, because if you've been around here a while, you know it just hasn't been my year. It just hasn't been, honestly, it doesn't feel like it's been my year here in a couple years. I feel like for every video I put out about this and this and this is going right, I have to tell you guys something else that has happened or went wrong. And that's just my life right now. And I'm not gonna get on here and fake it. Faking it on YouTube is just, that would be way too hard. I know there's people that do and present you guys a picture. That's not really what it's like at all. If you visited their farm or home, it would not even be what you thought it was. But I'm just not into that. That's too many balls to keep in the air. There's no way I could juggle all that and worry about trying to keep up some image or something that's really not me. So I am going to give you guys some real insight into what it's like if you don't have time to do every single thing from scratch yourself, sprout your own seeds, all those types of things, because honestly, I just didn't have time this summer. So you can see a lot of the garden is cleared off. I have worked really hard this last week. I've had help at various times from Lane and Emily and Ben, and just everybody pretty much just pitched in because it's a lot of work to clean up a garden as well as grow one. So we've cleaned up a lot. That down there is just the remnants of the cucumbers. They're pretty much done for the year. I do still have some squashes and things, and these are melons. So I do still have some of those things, kind of leaving some of those because I'm still picking little bits here and there off of them. Still have all my tomatoes. They're kind of grassy. Even on this, you know, ground fabric, ground cover, you're still gonna get some grass up through the holes that you burn to put the plants through. They can get kind of large if you don't keep it plucked out, and honestly, that just hasn't been at the top of my priority list. But I still have all my tomato plants, and we'll probably keep those because in my experience, if you go in and start ripping those out and just decide they're done, you're missing a whole nother crop. You could get a whole nother crop as the summer winds down and fall comes on, and you can be picking tomatoes right up until frost if you want to. Now, a lot of people would rather just clean their garden up and be done with it, but not me. They're not hurting anything. I don't have anything I want to put there, so I'm just gonna leave them. And then this is my okra. I just came out here. It looks kind of pitiful, kind of tall and stemmy, but that's because it was huge. I'd never grown okra as big as I did this year. It was like a hedge. But I came out here and broke off and cut off all the branches that weren't the main stalk because it was just getting too much to get in there and pick. And it's gonna keep producing out the top anyway. And so I just needed all those lower branches out of my way to be able to get up to it. And if you have any experience picking okra, you know it can be very itchy. So getting just up in a hedge of okra was not real pleasant. So that's cleaned up. Really, really excited about that. Got that done. So I can pick those easier. Peppers are literally everywhere. They love this time of year here in Zone 7B. They almost always thrive in the late summer when it's hot and dry. That's just how they do. It happens every year. I think, like this year, I thought I'm gonna feed those peppers and get them going earlier, but it really just doesn't seem, no matter what I do, they don't really start pumping out the peppers until like now. So I just kind of last minute planted in these raised beds. I've never been super huge on growing in raised beds, but the more I do it, the more I do like it. I like that there's just less weeds and they're easier to pull up. The soil's just looser and all that. I'm trying to experiment with some different gardening methods. I've never done a whole lot of tarping before and then pulling that off and broad forking. I recently did that in the back by the new greenhouse, and then I'm going to try planting some of my fall garden in these raised beds and just see how they do, because these are things that I'm planting, like cauliflower, broccoli, cabbages, chard, all kinds of things that usually get ridden with pests. So I'm gonna see how they do up here. Plus I'm really close to where I can water up here by hand. I'm already watering potted flowers up here, so I'm hoping I'll give them a little drink every day, and maybe that'll make a big difference. And I was super impressed. I already have a lot of zinnias growing up here. Not a lot, but they are taking up some bed space. And then there's some herbs in one of the beds, like some lemon balm that's really kind of spread out. I've trimmed it way back, but it's still in there to a certain extent. And I was able to get 38 plants in these beds. So I'm really excited. They're actually a lot more efficient than I thought they would be. And I just think you've got to do what works best for you. I would never get on here and say never raised beds, because you need to do what works best in your situation. And if that's a little raised bed garden, or if that's a big in-ground garden, if that's tarping, broad forking, back to Eden, ground fabric, whatever the case may be, you know what's best in your area, or you're at least like me, you're figuring it out. So I try to be real and help you guys out as we learn things. And one thing we have figured out with this ground fabric that you're gonna need to have a plan of action for is that you possibly could have an ant problem. So we have had ants, but let me clarify, we're having ants like never before all over the farm. So I don't think this is making it worse, but they do like it under here apparently, because they keep getting under here and then we keep getting eat up with them. So just figure out, there's all kinds of natural remedies, but just be careful when you're pulling it up, or like I'm doing today. Let me show you, I just discovered some. So just be careful, or you're gonna be in ants before you know it, and you will know it. All right, so I'm planting this early Jersey Wakefield cabbage. It's an heirloom variety. And it's the last thing I'm planting as far as plants today. I'm gonna plant some seeds as well, but this is the last thing that you can obviously tell I bought as plants. And I wanted to talk to you about that before I finish up my gardening for today. Obviously I did not sprout my own seeds, and I just wanted to address that. So one thing I wanted to mention with this cabbage, I'm over here in a totally different part of my garden than I have grown cabbage before. I'm over on the edge of my garden. I'm over next to where we grow out feeder pigs, and I'm doing that on purpose, and I wanted to share that with you guys. You may do this too, but it's just a good idea to rotate around where you're growing stuff. Don't plant something, especially like cabbage, in the same area over and over if you're having pest problems, which we usually almost always do, so that's pretty much a given. So if you'll rotate those things around, it does help some. I know I just said we usually have pest problems, but I usually can also get a good harvest with some tender loving care. But if I just plant them over and over in the same spot, which I did that for years and years, it was just, in one word, frustrating, because it was hard to ever get a harvest on some of these cool season crops around here, spring or fall. They would just get attacked to the point I didn't matter what I did, I couldn't save them. So this has helped me to be able to at least have a fighting chance against the pests by rotating these around. I'm sorry if you can hear the tractor in the background. It is a working farm, and Ben is actually on vacation, and what else is he doing but working? I'm so thankful he's bush hogging and getting things shaped up, clipping some weeds down, but that's the noise in the background. One thing I wanted to mention before I hop off here, I've still got some squash seeds, and I'm gonna plant some green bean seeds, some purple whole pea seeds, some carrot seeds. So that's what I'm gonna finish up here in the garden. But if you noticed, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, all of my plants that I just planted came from a local stand. I didn't sprout them. I didn't sprout one seed for this fall garden. And I just am here to tell you, it's okay. If you're there and you just have a lot going on and you didn't sprout any seeds, it's okay. If you don't really know why, but here it is time to plant the fall garden and you didn't sprout any seeds, it's okay. There's a couple reasons I really like when we sprout our own seeds, because number one, I have a whole lot more variety because I have a ton of seeds, and our local stands are usually pretty limited on what you can get, although they're better than they used to be. You can get heirloom plants and things like that, whereas you used to, that was kind of unheard of and people didn't even know what that was. Also, it's cheaper for me to drop a few seeds in some dirt than it is to go buy them. But you also have to account for your time and all the things it takes to get a seed from sprouted and to the point like I just went and bought them big and pretty and strong and ready to go in the ground, because there's a lot of steps in between. And just to be flat out honest with you guys, I just couldn't do it. I just didn't get it done. I have other things that took priority, and I didn't consciously not really do it. I just didn't do it. And then I looked up and it's time to plant a fall garden if I'm gonna plant one. And I thought, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm gonna get me some plants and I'm gonna do it because I like to. It brings me pleasure. And if there's anything I've learned, you gotta be flexible. Life has thrown us curveball after curveball the last several years, and I've just determined that things may not turn out exactly like I planned, but I'm gonna push on. I'm gonna persevere, and that's what I'm doing. I wanna grow a fall garden, and so I'm gonna do it. However, I have to make it happen. It may not be perfect. It may not be just like I would have planned it if I'd have designed it all out and planned it in a, perfect world, but we're not living in a perfect world. So I just want to encourage you guys, give yourself some grace. If you're like me, and maybe this is not about seeds at all, maybe it's about something else for you that you just didn't get around to, or just didn't pan out the way that you thought it would, or that you planned that it would. Maybe you totally forgot something and you looked up and it's too late. You've forgotten it. You can't go back and fix it now. Give yourself some grace. It's gonna be okay, and we're gonna live to fight another day. If you've gotta go buy your garden plants this year, and you can do that, you can afford to go buy you some plants, go buy some plants. Plant those plants, enjoy it, just like if you just sprouted it from seed, because you know what? They're gonna turn out vegetables just the same. I hope that you are doing fantastic. Leave us a comment down below. Just let us know what's going on with you. We'd love to hear from you. Some of you I haven't heard from in a while. I'd love to know what's going on in your corner of the world. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, and God bless.